Hey, disc golf fans, welcome back. Hope you had a great week. It's the championships
Tour Championship,
week,
the last event of the year.
coming off Kyle Klein victory in Rock Hill.
A well-earned victory, yeah,
That was great.
to push the playoff.
Was happy for that young man.
Yeah,
I really was.
first major. Well, and I think he was out of all the majors this year, we've had 3 of the first-time major winners as well. Kind of goes to show you that the field is very deep.
Wow, that is really.
It's a cool statistic.
That is a really cool stat.
I
Stat Mando guy right out of the gate today.
pulled it out of me.
Well, I think he's bubbling in talent, and I know he had a back injury this year that caused him to miss quite a bit of the season. So always good to see the ones. You know, he was also a U.S. amateur champion, wasn't he?
I believe so. Yeah.
So it reminds me a lot of like the golfers that go on to have a great pro career had a very good amateur career. So even though you see these kids, they're younger and younger tiptoeing into the pro tour.
Yeah.
There still is a lot of things that I think they should be looking at in terms of the amateur world, right? Get the reps, build the mental game we talked about, and
well, that's where Dave Felberg did a really brilliant thing by developing the National Amateur Disc Golf Tour, the NADGT.
Yeah.
And doing the finals in Austin, and he painted a beautiful picture as like, well, you can compete at the amateur level. You don't have to feel intimidated by all the pros being around. You have all your divisions right there in front of you, and MA1 is right there for you to potentially move into pro. Let's see where you're at compared to all the other MA1 players. These are the guys that are training and doing what it takes to better their game, get the best out of their game.
So that's all on Felberg?
Felberg developed it.
Really?
I don't know who developed it with him, but he did a really good job. I know he's still a part of it. So
I always get the impression when I see him that he's a nervous guy. Like, I don't understand how he could put together such a outstanding, all year long event where, you know, I played in a couple of them, and I talked to the TDs at the course, and they're volunteering, and in return they get some things that invites them to the November championship
out in Austin.
Yeah, so there's incentives for him to get the people to put on the events locally to get it to the national stage.
Really great program. I know a lot of local guys
kudos
here.
to him.
Yeah, I know a lot of local guys here that run NADGT tournaments and participate in them. I've participated in plenty. I know his name's Kyle Harrigan. I want to say he's out of Colorado. He's basically co-TD on every NADGT in the country, it seems like.
Wow.
He's been co-TD on all the ones in Arizona here. He's basically just a contact to...
Name's very familiar.
Yeah, to help keep it together. He's doing a stellar job at doing that too.
Well, good for him.
We've actually provided payouts for the full year last year for NADGT.
Oh, really? Okay.
Everything in Arizona at least, so Havasu, Tucson, everywhere.
Right.
Pretty cool to be a part of it.
Yeah. So the Tour Championship, here we come. We're at the end of the year.
Yep.
I'm
bittersweet.
A bit, yeah, it is. It is, because I kind of feel like I was just getting excited to watch Vegas.
That's a knife in the gut, isn't it?
Yeah, no, there is no Vegas.
No Vegas. It's in Orlando.
But there is still a Vegas. It's just not a pro tour event.
I suppose they'll still do the Las Vegas Challenge. I don't see why they wouldn't, right?
Right.
It's just not going to draw the major pros because it's not going to be a tour stop.
Right.
I'm sure they'll get plenty of players. I mean, there's plenty of people that like to come out to the Southwest for wintertime.
Yeah.
That kind of spend their off time here, and it's an easy drive rather than flying out to Florida. So I'm sure there'll still be incentive. There's still going to be a big pot to play for.
Let's go up and play it.
Okay.
Yeah, let's give them our support.
Yeah, I need to get out more.
Yeah. Well, Vegas is just 4 hours.
Easy drive.
And I would love to play those courses too. You know, it's a long winter, and you end up watching a lot of different post-production episodes.
Oh,
and Vegas always seems to roll into the queue.
Yeah, the autoplay.
Yeah, so it'd be a fun course to play, assuming that course is still the course they'll use this in 2024.
Well, they have 3 courses on that ball golf course too.
Yeah.
And they're all 3 they look like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Really windy, but fun.
Yeah. Not a fan of the wind.
So if we can roll back to the Tour Championship, the fields are a little different for this one because
Yeah.
it's basically an invite-only tournament. It's only the point leaders that get into the tournament, and the point leaders this year have a stroke differential gifted to them. Not gifted, they've earned it, but it's a little bit different than last year where they just got buys. Now they just start with 6 strokes. Well, Calvin gets 6 strokes.
Right. And
Second place gets 5.
down, right.
Yep. And then it trickles down until you're even. So 6 down on a course like Nevin Park is
That's a huge advantage
That's
for
basically-
a 2-day event.
that's the hottest round.
Yeah, it's exactly.
6 down. I mean, last year, without all the new changes, all the Mandos and things that they added, 6 down I think was the hottest round out there.
Yeah.
There might have been a 7.
You're if you have that advantage, I would say if you're 3 under to Calvin 6 under is, yeah, you're playing conservative. Get around that first day.
Yeah, just stay in it.
Don't play over. Yes, and because I did see Ricky Wysocki walk through the entire 18 on his channel, and he said flat out 4 to 6 under is a absolute as good as you can do round.
That's going to be
It's
the
that-
1100 rated round, huh?
It's that hard,
Yeah.
and the changes are fairly dramatic. I think it's unrecognizable from last year if you're going in to think about number 1 where it kind of went up the hill.
Mm-hmm.
Is that yeah? That's
I thought that was the coolest hole on the
that's
course,
really cool.
honestly.
But
The elevation changing the shape of the trees.
yeah, one's out in the open now, and 18 is number 6. So there's some real changes that back-to-back par 5s over 1,000 feet. I think they're both over 1,000, but in the woods. It's a totally different thing if it's 1,000 feet in Phoenix, Arizona versus 1,000
Yeah.
feet in North Carolina or South Carolina, wherever they are this weekend. But so
Well, it's insane to think that they had hole 18, which was an excellent ending hole, a
Yes.
finishing hole, right? To make it hole 6 now. What does their hole 18 look like now? Is it
Yeah.
as good of a finishing hole? It is?
well, it is, but it won't have that tilt towards that advantage where that forearm came in for Ricky
Yep.
so perfectly.
Yeah.
There was only a couple of people I think were throwing it near the basket to get the birdie
Right.
that whole weekend, and he was one of them. And so the fact that the playoff went to that hole really was a huge advantage over Isaac in that case.
Yep.
Had they gone to the woods, I think Ricky knew he was
Yeah.
probably in trouble.
Well, that's a really tough battle. You saw what Isaac did at Worlds this year.
Yeah.
He's just a woodsman,
So
definition of.
2 days, and all the work they did during the season comes into play with the handicap that they get. So they'll get
Yeah.
6 down, Calvin being number 1, and then on down the line. I 32 players, I think, in the men's division.
That's
so
correct.
12 go through to the final 2 days,
That's correct.
and then they reset the.
I would assume those handicaps are gone.
They're gone after
They have to be
36.
gone.
They're gone.
Yeah.
And then they reset, and it's the best. Yeah, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, really great. So
$40,000 grand prize.
Yeah.
First place.
I think it's going to be really hard. I think they're going to have to come back for people to go up.
Yeah.
Because
correct.
if Ricky's telling us that there's no birdies, or very few birdies to be had out there, in a lot of danger.
Then the leaders better be bogeying if you're going to catch up.
Yeah, I don't see how the most consistent players are the ones who are being rewarded in this case are going to be the ones most likely to come backwards. So it's almost sort of preset in a way, but it'll be exciting.
It's really
It'll
clever
still be exciting.
that setup because I mean, if you're looking at the lead card here, Calvin Heimberg, Isaac Robinson, Rick Wysocki, Gennenberg.
Yeah,
What a lead card
yeah,
that is.
I'm in.
Oh, yeah.
I'm in. Where's the popcorn? Right?
Yes.
That's going to be a great afternoon.
I will be planted on that couch.
At the shop
Yep.
with some pizza coming.
Yeah, we'll
Well,
feed you.
It's and I think I'm really impressed with the Disc Golf Pro Tour as their ability to not hold themselves year in and year out to a decision they made from, let's say, 2023.
Yes,
okay,
right.
that worked really well in 2022, but we think we can do it better in 2023, and they are doing it.
They're adapting really well to change.
They are adapting so well. It's impressive, and kind of frankly, the balls it takes to put the tour where it's going to be next year. And sounds like there wasn't a lot of discussion with some of the hosts of some of the 2023 sites that lost their position. Like, we'll take Vegas as an example. Wasn't there something that came up that Vegas said they didn't know this was not going to be an event?
It's definitely not surprising, because we haven't exactly been in Vegas's position, but we were trying to get the All-Star event here in Phoenix.
Yeah.
We were in talks with Jeff Spring about doing it. He didn't really tell us we weren't going to get it, so we put in a lot of legwork to do it, and then it didn't go through, and all of a sudden it's in Tucson, and we had to find out through Disc Golf Network advertising that, hey, we're going to be in Tucson this year. We're like, well, wait a second, this golf course, we've been doing a lot of stuff here to do this.
Right.
And I don't really blame him. I don't hold anything against Spring for that, because it's a great event on a great location. And it makes sense why he did what he did.
Yeah.
From a business standpoint, it's genius. All pats on the back for that.
Yeah, no, I don't think he makes a lot of mistakes. I honestly, as someone that lived in that corporate world for a long time, he has a general's mentality. You can tell, and that's exactly what the sport needs right now. It needs someone who can drive it, make hard decisions, not the popular decisions, but the hard decisions, for the better of the sport long term. And I think the team he's got around him, clearly they have a pretty good vision, it seems, of where they want to take this thing.
They are spearheading, for sure.
And we don't know the companies that may be approaching him with ad dollars to say the partnerships. It was just announced today that CBS Sports is taking 3 1-hour edited versions and putting it on their platform now.
Oh, that's magnificent.
Yeah, just announced today. So there's things going on at the Disc Golf Pro Tour that are taking this sport up another notch, another notch, up another notch. And we're just, we all, it's a community, but we're not always going to be a part of everything that's going on. So yes. Accept that. Know that it's in good hands. Trust the people that are driving this. You can see what they're doing with the live and the courses and everything else, that it's going in the right direction.
I agree.
So hearing that today for me was excellent news. Mm-hmm. Because CBS Sports goes on Hulu. It goes on all those different platforms.
Oh, okay.
So if someone who has a Hulu, that's their choice for watching whatever they watch, right?
Right.
There's that opportunity to now get disc golf without going to the Disc Golf Pro Tour or the Disc Golf Network or YouTube.
Well, it's a farther reach, right? So they're putting it in front of a different audience that may not have found it otherwise.
Right.
It's like what YouTube did for disc golf.
And my understanding is that Jomez will have the editing.
As they should. They're the best at it.
They are the best at it, which really made me happy, where you weren't getting some other party from CBS coming in trying to,
facilitate it, right?
Yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. No, it's not the case. It's going to be left in the hands of the people that got it there. And
beautiful.
Yeah. So it's going to be great.
Have they said which coverage yet, or is it going to be of the championship?
Yeah, it's on the Disc Golf Pro Tour website. It just went up on the news today.
Okay. I'll check that out.
It's the United States Open, I want to say Worlds, and there's one other in there.
So USDGC?
Yeah.
Okay.
USDGC and Worlds and one other.
Worlds will be great. I'm not particularly fond of USDGC. Maybe I'm biased, but I don't think that's a great.
Well, the way that they could edit it down into an hour, they'll make it fantastic.
Okay.
Because you'll get that excitement from 17 and 18, the drama of going OB, the drama of throwing it again OB, and the drama of having to make a putt. And
I should be a little more open-minded. I'll give it a chance.
And the shots that they're throwing on the par 5 over water,
it's pretty stressful.
Aesthetically, well, it's stressful for the players, but aesthetically for us fans and people that are coming into the sport are going to see this. They'll appreciate how kind of beautiful that is. Where it's like a golf shot where you're hitting onto an island. It'll take off from the fairway and it has to go over all this body of water. There's wind going on, and it's fading in and it's landing next to that is an incredibly hard shot under the circumstances.
Yes.
So I think those visuals will come through good.
Good. Okay.
That's my opinion, but we can count, I think, on Joe Mez to make sure the best foot is, again, forward, and how that editing looks for those. And Worlds, the course itself has so many great angles and the beauty of the background and the trees and the mountains and Eagle and Anthony throwing bombs on the par 5 to get the eagles coming down the stretch. I mean, all that, I think it could be quite a build in how that's presented. So not to get too away from where we're starting this thing, but
that's exciting news, though.
It is.
ESPN was actually last year's CBS Sports this year. ESPN actually opened up and had some coverage for disc golf on regular TV.
Really?
I don't know if it made it on any of the apps to go and stream it, but the Portland Open was actually put up for an hour segment on ESPN.
Okay.
And that was huge news to the disc golf community. We were all very excited about it. So I'm going to be ears open for this coming week to hear people come in here and talk about how CBS now has the footage.
Some footage. It's a start. But there's an off season. If we can get people interested in during the off season, that's going to be an important thing. Hopefully, these manufacturers are looking at ways to bring their brands out, because you brought it up before, where the growth of this sport seems to happen every couple of years or every 3 years. There seems to be some...
It'll plateau and then kind of climb up really quick and plateau. There seems to be I wish I had a formula for it, but
right, we
that
could
seems
actually
to be the trend.
See the data of it. But
right.
So what else about the championship, though?
Well, we could go over...
Is there a dark horse? Should we just try and pick a dark horse?
Just throw a dart at a dartboard at that point. You got Simon Lizotte. It's going to come down to the woodsman's. Who's got the best technical drive and the longest technical drive, I think, with long par 5s and the fact that there's a lot of tight, really strange lines that are... I mean, hole 1 last year, you saw the pros throw 10 different shots. Forehand, backhand, you saw rollers, we saw max distance drivers, we saw mid-ranges off the tee pad. It had the most variety of any hole on tour, I think. It was really entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
So whichever player can string together those shots, which in my mind, looking at the list here, Cole Redalon, he could put together a solid stretch around.
Because what you saw at Ledge,
pretty much
playing what's that course called?
Northwoods Black.
Northwoods Black.
So, he's put together several great rounds this season that kind of puts him in contention for any tournament at this point.
Right.
James Proctor's kind of in the same boat where he had such a solid season.
Yeah.
You can't really count him out of any tournament.
He is a teacher, by the way.
Oh, of course he is.
Yeah, was.
I'm a good guesser.
That was a great guess.
Matty O.
Love it.
I would love to see Matt Oram take down this. Obviously, I want Rick to win. I'm going to have his back for every tournament. He's just easily my favorite player for a long time.
Well, in scrambling, as that goes, I mean, I don't think I see him as a long shot in this. I see him as
getting out of jail.
The one to beat. Him and Isaac are the one to beat, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because I would put my money on Heimberg actually not winning this one. I think that's a lot. Yeah. I think that's probably an unpopular opinion.
Yeah.
But I don't think Heimberg's going to take it.
No, we all love Calvin.
Of course.
It is nothing personal. It's just we're all going for our gut too,
That's right.
But you really have to look at people right now who have had that year and who are great scramblers and who can putt. And it just seems Isaac and Ricky go right to the top.
Eagles had a really strong finish.
You know who could surprise someone? Is I don't have the names in front of me, and I won't be able to read it. Alden Harris. Bradley
Williams.
Right? Bradley Williams.
He pops
Alden
up every
Harris.
now and again and reminds you how good he is.
And I'm going to go out on a limb and say Joel Friedman.
Joel Freeman.
Because he can play
yes.
that game.
And he's got every shot. He's got a great forehand. He's got a great backhand. Turnovers. He's got it all.
He's just got to stop beating the shit out of himself between.
It does kind of seem like that, huh?
He beats
himself.
Yeah. And I hate to see Paul Uleberry does it too, where I just feel like, I know you can go into slumps and you can come out of slumps and all of that, but it seems like when you've been in a longer slump and it's easier to get hard on yourself and get down on yourself quicker. Like, oh, here we go again.
Yes.
Right? The woe is me instead of, oh, that was a bad break, but that's fine. I got this next shot.
A lot of these pros are able to kind of flip that switch after they make a bad shot, erase it, move on, throw a great shot.
Most.
But when they start stacking.
Yeah.
And stacking, and how do you erase these bad I've got too many bad shots in a row. All of a sudden, your mental game's gone.
Yeah.
That switch is broken.
Yeah.
I've felt that recently, just to relate. Yeah. Like, I've had a month of disc golf where it hasn't felt right in my game. It hurts so bad.
Yeah.
The only thing you can do is just keep playing.
Yeah, the mental side of that is it's real.
Yes.
It's so real, and it's real easy to get in valleys, and it's real easy to stay in valleys. So I hope Joel can figure it out in the offside. Apparently he's working on it, and he's better than he used to be, but even the self-deprecation, okay, it's directed at you. But even the best players like Tiger Woods of the world, they got upset, but they never ever like inwardly brought it on themselves.
Tell themselves like I'm a terrible player, or I'm an idiot. What a stupid thing.
No, it was never like that. It was just a bad break, and it's there for a second and it's gone. But it isn't something that they're laying on themselves.
Well, it impacts you that way.
It
you
really
kind of bury yourself.
It does.
Pete Uleberry actually told me last time I was at Wilderness Ranch that every time he has a good shot, he goes, yeah. He gives himself a bump. And there's something about that positive influence on yourself that really carries into your game.
That's fantastic.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's fantastic. Whatever works for you to keep, and that's where the Cole Redolans of the world and a young man at that age to be that placid.
Yeah.
Whether he's made 6 birdies in a row or he's made 3 bogeys in a row, you can't tell.
It's totally level-headed.
Yeah, it's really impressive. So
I like that call, though, Joel Freeman. That's a great call. Although he is only at 1 stroke going into it. When they take 12, they take the top 12.
I just...
He's got to beat a lot of people.
I'm rooting for the guy because I think he can get past this thing that he does to himself, and once he does, I think sky's the limit because he's got all the talent in the world.
Yep.
Seems to have all the shots. Seems to always kind of get himself in the mix every year, one way or another, one tournament or another.
He makes a lot of lead cards.
He's around, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
And
he's got the loudest clothes, which I'm all about.
Yeah, it's great.
I love the loud shirts and pants.
Absolutely. He's like the John Daly of disc golf. The loud pants.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Rock the pinks. Rock the greens.
Be that guy.
It's like Easter.
So the confidence is there because you can't wear that unless you got a mountain of it.
Yeah, you better be a killer. You're wearing pink pants on the golf course,
right? Absolutely, and the pink shoes and the pink cart to match and the
flamingo shirts.
Yeah. You're not you're cut from a different cloth, man. You're no pun intended. So Alden Harris, I have as my other dark horse. I just like that kid. He's got a great head on his shoulders, and he's due. I expected him to win this year. He was the one guy I thought would win this year, and he was up there a couple of times. You saw him. He was surfacing. And I just think when you're playing day in and day out, and you're with guys who are at the level of Cole Redall and his group that he hangs out with.
Yep.
They're all great disc golfers.
You are who you surround yourself with.
You really are. And all of them have kind of had a visible year, haven't they, as a group?
They really have all put together really, really solid play.
Yeah.
And honestly, Alden is kind of the one that hasn't seemed to just penetrate. It seems like he's got moments of shine instead of a round of shine.
Yeah. Okay.
Like it's not a totally well-polished round. He'll just have moments where he's parking and makes the hole look easy and just takes a stroke on his whole card. He does it every now and again, but not enough to really penetrate into that top 4.
Well, I'm rooting for that group again next year, and I think Alden is going to have a breakout year because at some point it has to happen.
Yes, and he's still young,
right? Oh, very. They all are.
Yeah, they all are, aren't they? They're
right?
just kids.
Oh.
Isaac's probably the oldest one out of the group,
and he's young.
Yeah, and he's still young, 23 or something.
Yeah, that's crazy. Wow, really?
Something like that.
Oh, that's so great. The sport's in great hands.
Yeah, we're doing okay.
As far as the women's division, it's pretty hard to.
Of course, you want to say Tatar.
Bet against the champion. Yeah,
Tatar's the one. She's been dominant in every single way of the game. Missy's not unfamiliar to the winner's circle either, especially for this kind of format.
Yeah,
where she can keep her head on her shoulders and really start knocking down every drive and sinking every putt.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not to take away from the women, but they're. I just think, quite frankly, going into the final, there's just less to talk about this year.
The talent is spread out
a little bit. Yeah,
Owen's not as hot. She had a really, really hot start and center to the season, kind of tailed off.
Yeah.
Holland Hanley just had a pretty big win.
Yeah.
Although to beat Tatar in the woods with distance, Holland Hanley's got a crusher drive. But the technicalities where it's going to come, technicality is going to win the tournament.
Is she a scrambler? Right.
Is she a scrambler?
Right.
There you go. Can she get herself out of trouble? Because they're all going to get in trouble.
Right.
All the players.
Right. It's
men
coming.
And women. That's right.
Yeah, it's coming. So, yeah, I still will watch it. I'm still excited to see the throws, how they manage the course. Great job with the women this year. Congratulations to Kristen. One of the most dominant performances, I think, in any sport. And I honestly hope that CBS and others that are picking some of these moments up recognize that a Grand Slam was just one in a single year. The amount of Tiger got 3 in 1 year and then got the last one the first part of the following year. So they call it the Tiger Slam. But it wasn't all in one.
It was 2 separate seasons.
Yeah, and it's very rare for tennis players to get them too,
yeah.
right? The Grand Slam in these individual sports. So for her to do it, I honestly, like I said before, I don't know why Nike hasn't picked up the phone and gave her a big contract. Someone in Europe, whether Adidas, I don't care. Someone needs to
wake up and give the sport what it deserves.
Yes, this is one of the best years in sport, any sport, that individuals had.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, Christian broke her record from last year. Last season, she broke the record, had it for, I think, it was like a matter of hours because Ricky broke it right after her. But it was the most earned by a single disc golfer in a season.
Yeah.
Kristen took it. A woman in a male-dominated sport.
Yeah, she's going to crush it by the end of this weekend.
Oh, so yeah, going to blow her.
She's going to win as much as she earned in her contract.
Yep.
That's a heck of a year.
That's incredible.
Throwing frisbees, man.
Yeah.
So good for her. Enjoy the off season. Just don't go hurt yourself skiing or doing something crazy like that.
Oh, is she a skier?
I don't know.
Of course she's a skier. She's from Estonia.
I don't know.
All they have are snow sports. It's basically just Russia.
Well, hopefully she just gets some good time away, and we get to see that next year. It's going to be interesting to see how Paige responds to all this.
I'll be curious too, because she seems to have lost her fire since moving to Discraft. She had a pretty dominant season for a second.
Wow.
It was just one hot second, and then she's kind of fallen off, and she's not half the player that she was.
since Discraft.
Yeah, since moving to Discraft.
Wow.
And Macbeth, I would argue, is kind of in the same boat. From moving from Innova to Discraft, he's only really shown up to the Worlds and then the European Championship. It's like two tournaments a year he's good for. And maybe we're just used to seeing Macbeth win 4 to 5 tournaments a year. To go down to only being in contention for 2 seems like a pretty big drop-off.
Wow.
But he won himself a world championship. But that also felt like that's all he really cared about that year.
Yeah. Well, you know that, yeah. It's circled on everyone's calendar. That's the big one.
Yep. It sells discs, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And you're world champion, it just seems to follow you after even your playing days, because you look. It was great to see Ken Climo.
Yes.
Did a great job.
I thought so too.
That baritone voice, man, I was just nestled in, hearing him put the color out there for the shots. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I hope he does it more. It seems like he's good. I got the impression. I know that they're releasing that 9-hole skins thing. That'll be great. I think we all want to see. I saw one shot that was put out.
Yeah, they keep teasing us with that one shot. Like, the champ still got it.
That was a great looking throw.
Great shot. Form's pretty smooth.
It is very smooth.
Been doing it for a while, I suppose.
It's very smooth. He would crush any MP with 40 or 50 he went into. You could tell he would crush it. But yeah, so
I think we should hit the last change. Well, the biggest change from 2022 to 2023 for this Pro Tour Championship. MPO Fields 2022, 9,002 feet, par 63. That's what it was last year. This year, 2023 MPO, 10,770 feet, par 66. You only get 3 strokes for that extra 1,700 feet. 3 strokes.
So you've got to be accurate and long.
Yep, you better throw far. You better stay in the middle.
Well, like I said, Ricky didn't pull any punches when he went through the course walkthrough, saying that it's 4 over or 4 under rather is going to be one heck of a score. So it'll be par is probably going to be
what we're going to see.
What we're going to see. There are going to be one or two that might pop off, but it doesn't sound like it. Because he was throwing, 2 or 3 every hole, and still not finding the perfect spots.
Oof.
Right? And he threw 2 that were perfect, and he's like, I still have 350 feet to go, and he had an opening this big.
You got 3 feet to work with.
Yeah. And he made it through it, and then he hit the tree, 200 feet down, but still now he's got a birdie shot, and he's still 200 some odd feet away.
Yeah, so a throw-in birdie, huh?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And so I think we're really going to see something we haven't seen all year. Sounds like.
Beautiful. That's going to be a beautiful end of the season.
Sadly.
There's always next season.
Yep.
It starts up in February.
Yep, it's in good hands.
Not going to have to wait too long.
No. We're used to everyone coming this way because the Memorial and the Las Vegas and the All-Star, and it
was a nice bit of exposure to the Pro Tour.
Evaporated.
Yep. Just like that in the thin air.
So I think the Memorial will be open for a new champ, not on the tour.
Yeah, some local pros, but again, there will be some pros that are just here that don't feel like going to the All-Star event or didn't get into the All-Star event. That'll still be here to play it.
Is it right around the same time?
I believe so.
Okay. Yeah, you're certainly not going to do one and then fly to the other.
I believe it's in March. Well, you better be out there.
Yeah. Yeah, if they're already going to be out in Florida, they're not going to come back because it is like the 1st of March, isn't it? The Memorial.
It's the first week, I want to say.
Yeah, me too. So that's the biggest tournament that's hosted currently
in Arizona.
But I do think that changes.
It's going to have to.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to see them do more with it, and they haven't in all these years with the tees.
Well, it's
just
all
one example, the tee boxes. So whose responsibility is that as a community?
I mean, the community bashes spinners. I think spinners. I don't think it's spinners' fault. The community needs to step up and do more too. You know, they can only do so much. I'm in the same position as them. I want to do as much as I can, but I can only do so much. I have to operate a business still and work the day to day.
But you're trying to get all these things done on the west side.
Of course, yeah,
Of
promoting
Phoenix.
disc golf close here, yes.
Right. And it's happening. It seems to me that, I mean,
It's a never-ending work in progress.
well, right. The course is right there in their backyard. So
Yeah,
it seems like it should start there. Like the get together of the minds that play the course the most, that are part of whatever spinners organizations, or, and again, not picking on spinners. It's someone down there must also want to change a few things,
right,
upgrade it,
improve.
Yeah. There's planting trees, whether it's getting new pads, but they really need new pads badly.
The tee pads are very slippery.
They're bad.
When you watch any memorial coverage, they give the pros, or they give everybody that couple extra feet off the side, and everybody takes the side.
And that's embarrassing.
That's pretty bad.
It's embarrassing. It's
Everybody's
not
teeing from the dirt.
and that, well, there you go. I mean, the pro tours, bye-bye.
There it goes.
Yeah. They're not going to hang around for that. If you're not going to do what it takes, Jeff Spring's got
how many other guys that are doing it?
Lots. There's lots of bids that are coming in, and I don't think it's as easy as just having courses and being able to get the tour now. I think there has to be probably I bet you it's a pretty big checklist.
It is, yes. There's a budget. There's planning.
Yeah.
There's everything.
Yeah, I'm sure it's way different than what it was 5 years ago.
Yep.
Getting a tour event, way different. And that's good, because it has to go in that direction in order for the game to keep gaining that recognition and going in the right direction. So we both agree on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. So it's not going to happen for Arizona for a while, at least in the spotlight.
I mean, all these other tournaments have been going on for a long time by the same TD.
Yeah.
So they're pretty well organized into going into these tournaments and getting ready for a big event and running it smoothly. No hiccups.
Yeah.
It's kind of what the Pro Tour needs.
Right.
Especially ending up on coverage. You can't have all these questions and concerns and regular park goers in the middle of your fairway trying to set up a picnic.
No. Yeah, no. Yeah, and Fido going through there and barking as they're teeing off and
taking a big dump next to hole 2.
Oh, jeez.
So
11 speed discs are my favorite high-speed disc to throw. Like, yes, there's a 12 around. Yes, there's 30. We all probably have those other discs, but I find the options for 11 speeds to be pretty impressive right now.
It's deep. It's pretty deep.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Even just going around the store just now and plucking out all the 11 speeds, I was surprised at how many 11 speeds we have.
Yeah.
And there's probably a few that I missed out there.
Yeah, I think there are more actually, but these are ones that get the job done in different ways. A lot of the Wraith, obviously, is stable, been around for a long time, a favorite of so many players.
It's a sneaky distance driver. It goes a lot farther than people understand.
Yeah.
Unless you have a Wraith, then you understand.
Right. All the way down to the more understable of the Mambas, the Jet, the Wave.
The Scorch is up there for understable.
And the Sail, which it literally does.
It sails.
It sails. That is a great disc.
It's a very underrated disc.
I think it is. And I don't know, even though that turn number on that, I think, is either a 4 or a 5.
I think they give it a -5 turn, which is
insane
to think about.
The same as the Mamba.
Correct.
But
just about identical.
I feel it has a little bit more stability than the Mamba.
It does, yeah. Especially in this SP plastic.
Yeah, okay. But really fun discs. From hyzer flipping to rollers to downwind. And it feels, for whatever reason, 11 speed feels so much better in my hand.
Well, it feels much more manageable than trying to grab a big old 13-speed driver, right?
Yeah, I really feel like I can get my wrist to snap it a little bit better because that diameter is just a little bit thinner.
Well, we can even go back to arm speed and say that 90% of disc golfers would benefit more from an 11-speed than they will a 13-speed.
Right.
Just because of the rotations you're able to get on this thing.
Right. You're going to get more rotations. The disc is going to do more of what it was designed to do. Yeah, I love them.
We've got just about every shot shape on the table here.
If I was to, from a under 900 rated player, from favorite right now on down the line,
you're going to rank them?
I'll give you my top. I'll give you my top. I'll give you my top three.
We have 13 discs on the table, so you're going to give us your top three.
Top three. Wave.
Wow.
From MVP.
Number one.
It is a fantastic drive. There's just a little bit of turn on that, but it always comes back for me. And I feel like the way it feels in my hand, I can really get a nice wrist pop with that.
Okay.
And I think all mine are somewhere in the mid 160 range.
Yeah.
Which I really like. The Mamba I love. I've always loved it. It was one of the first discs I bought in a higher speed, and it has continued to stay in the bag. And now I'm even using it for
some forehands.
This was a surprise. This was recommended by you and Brian.
Mm-hmm.
And the Jet is just that for me. I think it's that and the Wave right now are the furthest I can throw it. If I've gotten it out there 360, 375, it's been with a Jet or a Wave. Period.
Well, the Jet's got it's such a glidey disc. They call it a -3 turn. I don't think it really has that much turn unless you really got a big arm.
Yeah.
Because I see a lot of guys throwing the Jet. It's a really, really popular disc, and they're getting that kind of distance flying straight, not big S turn turnovers. It pops up and goes straight.
That's exactly what it does.
It's a pretty cool shot shape, that disc.
Yeah. Mine that I've had now for a year, it does get a little of that S, but I've put another one in the bag, which is I'm famous for. When I can count on if there's a little bit more wind in the day.
Okay.
Because I still love that feel.
Mm-hmm.
That confidence comes in from using the discs that I'm most familiar with.
Yep.
And so I'll have something that's just a little newer, less beat in, and I can count on what you're talking about. It pops up and goes dead straight, and it's just it's a fun disc to throw.
It's very usable for most people too.
Yeah. Well, we live in the desert too, so we have more airspace out here than most areas of the country. And
it's a hyzer fest for most big arms.
But it can be, but it's still, we get to probably flex shots and see shots really, these discs get used in the way they were designed more because there's nothing always in the way.
Yeah.
Right? You're just trying to get it from point A to point B, and there is maybe one tree.
More like a vacuum, right? So you can kind of understand what the disc is going to do.
It's really unique playing here. And then when you get out of here and you realize how unique it is, because but for that reason, discs like this are very popular.
Oh yeah,
very, very popular because they go and they go and they go. And so those are my top three. Now I've only thrown this once. This is the new
Discmania DD,
but it looks and feels fantastic.
Yes, I think they saw how popular the Jet was off initial release, and they adapted because that is a brilliant disc to have.
Do you think they went after the Jet?
I don't think they went after it. I think they tried to do what the Jet was supposed to be. That understable 11-speed is so popular amongst a lot of disc golfers right now.
See, I don't think anyone knows about the Jet. Maybe I'm just in a Phoenix bubble, but
well, see, my Jet rack is pretty low. We've had to restock the Jet a lot, almost as much as we've had to restock glitches.
So the secret's out.
Oh yeah, people understand. Well, and part of it is because of my partner here throwing them all the time.
Yeah.
And this is an old man that can throw 400 feet. Like, what are you throwing to get that far? And he goes, Jet.
Yeah.
Anybody that walks in here and they say, I need more distance, he goes, Jet.
That's what he told me.
Exactly that.
A year ago.
That's why we sell so many Jets, is because when you come and buy one, you go and throw it, and you turn right around and come buy another one.
Yeah.
That's a pretty sweet disc. I could use another plastic or a lighter weight or...
Well, that was my point earlier about why it's so important to come into a bricks and mortar store like this and to feel it and have a conversation with someone like you and Brian, and you can learn about, look, okay, your arm speed's only this. Don't. Yeah, they're throwing that on tour, no doubt about it, and it looks really great and sexy.
Yeah. You don't need a destroyer right now.
You just need to be here. This is where you need to be. Wave was the other one that he recommended.
Yep.
And it's been fantastic. It's very similar in how it flies. They just feel a little bit different in the hand.
Castro really likes his Wave for big bombs and rollers.
Jordan?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what Jordan does really well with those.
All right, so you've picked up, I know Grace, I've seen you throw Grace.
I throw the Grace a lot, and I'm throwing it more and more now that these 2-time Tatar Graces came out. I love that disc. It's quickly become one of my favorites because it's overstable and glidey. So I can get 375 on a pure hyzer with it.
Yeah.
If I'm throwing it flat, I can get over 400. It's a sweet flying disc.
This plastic's really nice too.
Yeah, the Supremes are hard to beat.
That's a beautiful disc. Discraft. Scorch.
The Scorch. I've had some friends throw the Scorch, and it is a really smooth flyer. It has just as much turn as it does fade, so the flight numbers are basically spot on. And it's really fun to watch that thing fly because it will stand itself up and turn and then fade as much as it turned, and it ends up dead straight ahead of you.
Again, I love the diameter of that 11 speed.
Yep.
They all feel really, really good in the hand. The Photon MVP.
Photon, very, very popular disc. It's the MVP Wraith is what it ends up being. Different shape. A lot of them end up bored flat like that. I was really excited about those plasma photons because I haven't seen one in a while. And I personally think their plasma plastic feels the best out of what they have. It's really nice and durable. It's stiff. Even in some of the lighter weights, we got like 158 grams that are just stiff. I feel like I could absolutely rip on them.
We see Simon throw these photons? I think we do.
It wouldn't surprise me.
And the Sergeant?
The Sergeant is a bit of a sleeper. It's a bit of a sleeper. It's pretty overstable, 11 speed.
1140, 2.5.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of people throwing the Sergeant, but it is something that you can really depend on. Something you could throw Anheuser, you kind of know what it's going to do. It's going to fight out steadily. Not dramatically.
It's still going to give you some distance, but it will fade out.
It will fade.
Feels good. And then the one that's the Wraith from Innova.
The Wraith is, like I said, it's sneaky distance. It's the only disc I managed to break 500 feet with. I still have yet to find a disc that will go as far as a Wraith.
11.5, -1, 2.
I think they call it a 3 fade.
It is a 3. Fantastic. The more I didn't like it when I got it, but the more I beat it in, the more it really had a place in my bag.
Oh yeah.
I like Innova products, so that was a good one. Sale I picked up at the Memorial. That was part of their players pack.
Yeah.
And I was so surprised by how far that disc went. And I honestly thought when I got it, it was a 9-speed because it felt like a 9-speed to me.
And there's something in my mind too. I thought it was a 9-speed. I thought it was like their
So
Roadrunner.
it wasn't just me.
No, I honestly thought the Sail was a 9-speed for the longest time.
Yeah, it felt like a 9-speed. Yeah, but it definitely, but it wasn't going 9-speed distances. So
no, looking at the rim, it's got a smaller rim than a lot of these do. The width of it looks like a full couple millimeters smaller.
Almost like in the 10-speed range then in terms of feel, or maybe that's why we've both felt that way. It's just
right, because the width of the rim here usually indicates how fast the disc is.
Correct.
And being a smaller rimmed 11-speed, is it really how fast does it travel through the air?
Right. It moves pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's got a lot going on. It's turning. It's kind of coming back. It's a fun disc. I think everyone should at least give it a try. If you've tried the Mamba and you like a Mamba, I think it falls into a little bit more stabilized category than that. But
especially in that plastic.
But that feel to me is the same. I love the feel of a Mamba too. This plastic is so good. The Star.
Yeah, when you get the Star, and personally, I don't like those bubbles in the rim that they've been doing in the years past. This solid Star feels so much more sturdy than that Star.
Yeah,
That's a 149 gram Wraith, and the reason why it's so light is because all those bubbles in the rim.
Yeah,
it's all air.
And this is a perfect. This might come home with me. This is 166.
Oh wow, I sold you on it. I have to do nothing.
I love that 166 number to me. I don't know why 168.
I'm right there too. 168 gram Wraith was the one I managed to get that 500.
I really feel like I can snap my wrist with those.
Oh, yeah.
When it starts getting that 175, I don't feel like I have the same authority with it.
Yeah.
And that might just be in my head, but it really feels like it's more snappy at that weight.
Well, lighter weights require more control. So if you have good form, you can throw lighter weight discs. The reason why you see the pros throw all heavy stuff is because they just have a lot of power that they almost can't even contain. So they need the heavier disc to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very similar in golf, whereas the better you get, the stiffer your shafts and everything, your equipment gets, because you become so efficient in delivering your energy to where you're directing it. That
interesting.
That you need something more stable, because you're especially you're at the top of the food chain when it comes to the sport. You're going to need something that's going to be able to handle that flex that you're creating. And it's nuts when you see.
That's cool.
Yeah, when you see Calvin explode a driver.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, he takes a Halo Destroyer, which is so freaking overstable for most players, and he just thumps it straight 450 feet.
Yeah. Yeah, Garrett Gurthey, another one that just I got
Fork City.
His Destroyer.
He sent you 5 of them.
Yeah. Yeah. We did an exchange for some stuff, and man, I don't know what I'm going to do with those meat hooks.
Could you send me some Sonics?
Yeah. But obviously he's throwing them, and to me, it's such a expert level disc.
Oh yeah,
and you get into that 175. 12, 13 speed range. That's out of my league. I'm not going to put my shoulder through that. I'm just not. I'd rather be able to really kind of enjoy this ride out with the game. And so the 166 worked really well. But to your point, it is a little bit touchier. And when the wind comes up, makes it a little bit more interesting.
Yep.
But I still have the heavier stuff when I need to. I just don't plan on throwing it that far that day. It's kind of the way it is. But this has been great. There's a wealth of 11 speeds.
And that's really where most players are at, the 11 speed range.
Good stuff.
You've got the whole lineup right here too. You've got something that goes left, right, and center.
So I gave you my 3.
So I got to pick mine, I suppose. And these are just for me personally. If I were to put 3 of these in my bag right now, I would have to go Wraith, Scorch, and Jet.
Wow, I didn't think the Jet. I thought Grace for sure.
Well, I bagged the Grace now, so maybe that's why I left it off. Maybe I was just being in a fantasy world of that's if I had to change my bag out right now and pick 3 off the table here. Because the Wraith is just a Grace at the end of the day. They're the same thing. But I've gotten a lot more distance out of the Wraith. And I know when I had the mixed bag, I would bag an overstable and an understable Wraith.
Well, that's an interesting question. How would you get more distance out of one versus the other? Technically, the molds are almost identical.
They're very similar, but it's the plastic. Even though that plastic feels and beats up tremendously, that old pre-flight number Star plastic is some of the best ever developed.
Yeah.
It takes beatings so well. I've hit rocks, I've hit trees, and it still flies smooth.
Yeah.
And it doesn't crack or chip like some of these new plastics do. And in my experience, that stock stamp Grace is not as good as the Tatar Graces. Those Orbit Graces are an absolute dream compared to those.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm very,
Okay.
very partial to those. And those are overstable, where I don't like these ones as much because they are a touch more under, but not as good as the understability of a pre-flight number Star Wraith.
Got it.
Kind of hard to explain, but something about that pre-flight number plastic is supreme. It's perfect.
Well, good on Innova. I know they can beat up for their inconsistency from time to time, but you can't knock them for creativity in their
history.
Oh man,
they've got the longest history of most disc golf companies. It's just them and Discraft, really.
I just want to go have a beer with Dave.
He's earned a beer with you.
Pick his brain. Just man, I really do. I want to know if it was like he woke up that morning and it was like a songwriter, man. And was it just there?
Inspired.
How did you get it there? Because it changed everything.
It did, yeah.
It really did. So awesome, man. 11 speeds.
Yep.
Where do you want to go next? I think it's really important that if you're playing a course, especially if you're playing like a league every Wednesday, let's just pick on Wednesdays leagues, and you're utilizing it for those 10 weeks that you're out there, and then usually it's a seasonal thing, right? Another one will start up behind
If you do a sanctioned league, I mean, there's leagues that go year-round that are unsanctioned.
That are unsanctioned, exactly. So it doesn't matter if it's sanctioned or unsanctioned. If you're using it, if you're going to the park and you're enjoying yourself, you're enjoying the game, the park doesn't owe you anything, in my opinion. And I think I need to speak up for the city a little bit here, because a lot of times I'll go to the park and after a league night, it looks a little bit worse than it did the day before.
Trash cans are all full of beer cans.
Yeah, and
muddy tee pads.
I think people really have to start, like, can if you form a league and you're utilizing the facilities on a consistent basis and you've got 40, 80, whatever it is amount of guys or women in your group, can you dedicate at least one Saturday a month or every 6 weeks or every other month to going into that park and sweeping tees and maybe picking some things up or maybe pruning some things here and there to better the course? Because there is no course maintenance other than the city. And the city just goes out there to do what the city has to do on a very thin budget and minimalistic approach. They don't play the game.
They're contracted to mow the grass and trim the trees.
They could care less.
They're not there to sweep off your muddy tee pad.
Right. They could care less. It's just in the way of the mower. So I'd like to see, and I hope, and I'm sure it's done. I'm sure there's some leagues and groups that have been together for a long time that really do a nice job with that.
You see that a lot on the East Coast and in the Midwest, like Wisconsin. I was really impressed with their communities being able to upkeep the courses.
Can you guys, if you're doing that, can you post and tag us? Because we would love to see the community get together and sort of how you went about organizing that idea, and see if we can't
how to motivate people,
share those ideas. Yeah, get it out there. But yeah,
this is your home course, right? Imagine you play this course once a week. It's your home course. It's your favorite course. A lot of these guys, how many people play Conosito in a day?
Right.
A ton, and they're there all the time. But nobody's really doing anything. The tee pads are terrible right now. I've actually got a broom, a shovel, and a rake in the van right now, so I can go and do something. And I don't play Conosito as often. I'm playing Sweetwater because that's the course I want to develop and improve.
Make better.
Correct.
Yeah. So there you go. That's sort of the point. And it isn't like going to in golf. You have the country club, and you pay your fees to get into the country club, and then you pay your monthly dues at a country club, and that can be anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000 a month, depending on where you want to play golf.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I come to the golf course, and I expect it to be a certain way. I expect the greens to be good. I expect them to be mowed. I expect everything to be picked up. I expect the fairways to be good.
You're paying
clean.
For it.
I am accepting nothing less.
Yeah.
But that's the way it is. That's the culture in golf. If you're at a country club, you expect to have the country club amenities, right?
Right.
And the course is the best experience you can have when you're out there playing. I feel in disc golf, because no one's doing that. No one's paying a membership fee. to play the course they're playing.
So it's all free to play.
So there should be some sort of organization or group or volunteering that is structured at every one of these courses that, look, if you come hang out here more than 4 times a month, we maybe expect you to do a few things.
Help out.
Do something. It can't always fall on, your shoulders as a disc golf pro shop. Brian and Jay will take care of it because they kind of run everything in this side of town. And well, no, that's not fair to you. You've got a million things going on. You're already trying to better the courses in different ways. It's up to the people who are getting out there and playing all the time. So I'm not pointing at anybody. I'm just saying, look, if you're using and utilizing and enjoying the space, hopefully you're putting some effort in a few times a year to make it even better.
Well, now sitting and having this conversation right now almost makes me think I should just try to post on some of the club pages and say, hey, this Saturday, let's all get together and clean the park, and just see how many people even show up.
Yeah, that's one way you can do it. I think these leagues owe it to the park more so than even that, because they're the ones that are really utilizing it, and they expect all of us to get off their course. I mean, I've been out there and been almost bullied off the damn thing on a Wednesday night. I'm like, what the hell? I'm just trying to get a late round in.
Yeah.
We're doing a shotgun start. I'm like, well, I don't care.
Yeah, it's not your park. It's all of our parks, right? So we have to share.
And then I find that I'm end up picking up their stuff at the end of the night or the next day.
Yeah.
And so it's got to change, and I hope that it does. But it's going to drive. And I didn't mean to segue into this, but private disc golf courses are coming.
They're on the way.
We're
developing in the same trend of golf anyways. It's only a matter of time before somebody figures it out.
And I can't wait.
Take my money.
Absolutely. I mean, I honestly, depending on what you can get, depending on the course itself, where it's located, what the options are and the amenities are, but I don't think it's unrealistic to anywhere from $500 to $1,500 a month to have a disc golf course that's manicured, that's the baskets are moved and changed to bring some different dynamics to the course, where there's practice facility, where there's a driving range, or there's a putting course in an area.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got sort of indoor things where you can throw that disc with
the technology.
You can do all your technology stuff with Pro Shop, and it's going there. I know it's going there. Right now, those places that do exist are remote, like the one outside St. Louis, Eagle Crossing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It looks absolutely gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they just put another 18 in.
Oh, wow.
And they just opened that up, literally, I think, 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
So...
Well, you got Sandy Point up in Wisconsin.
It's $25 or $30 to play that all day.
It's not bad. I'd pay that.
No problem. No problem for what you got.
Yeah.
Right? And I honestly, I believe that's where it's got to go. It won't entirely go there because they're just like golf. You have public golf courses, but they're still pay to play.
Yeah.
But in disc golf, I don't know that everyone realizes how good they have it.
Right.
For the land.
Availability of it is all very well established. I mean, we got 5 courses within 15 minutes of here that are all free. Yeah.
But if it gets to be to the point where people can't pick up after themselves, or they leave it worse than what they found it, it's only a matter of time before, 1, the park gets closed, or 2, it does go to some sort of pay to play, where the city has to hire someone more on a full-time basis, which wouldn't be a bad thing. And maybe you have to pay into whatever, and when you go to the first tee, you've got to scan something. I mean, with technology now, there's no,
right.
It's coming. So there's going to be ways to collect your dues if you're going to utilize courses. So I'd rather see us make the effort now.
Oh yeah,
keeping these parks
growing disc golf.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you be a part of the community and not want to help it?
Yeah.
You know how great the sport is. You know how much it's benefited your life and,
Right.
and everyone that you've taught how to play. Why not put forth that little bit of extra effort to keep it pristine?
Yeah.
Keep the image clean.
They have fun with it.
There's some players' contracts coming up. A lot of players. I mean, we're at the end of the season now, so a lot of players are at the end of their commitment to these manufacturers. And we're going to see, it's always a big shuffle in the offseason. Look at what DD did with the helicopter. They put Wysocki on a helicopter and flew him into the factory. What a display that was.
Yeah.
Got to set the bar pretty high for these other guys to sign players.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Kona too, right?
Kona too.
And we wish her well, her recovery, speedy recovery, Kona.
I don't know if she's had surgery yet, but I know she's been trying to get a lot of stuff done. I feel terrible for the girl.
Yeah, it's stressful enough playing at that level, and and then her contract was very public.
Yes.
And she asked for as much as Kristen got, and Kristen has literally set the world on fire. So now, because you made that comparison in terms of your salary, that's another weight on Kona, another weight. Every tournament, she has to carry that.
Yep.
Fair or unfair. And that can't be good for your health either. So she has to be careful and get into a good place after this recovery and evaluate where disc golf is.
Mental game, man. That's the difference between first and 200th.
Yeah. I just think that it's unfortunate the way that had she mentioned someone else or not mentioned it at all as being sort of that plateau where, well, she got this, so I'll ask for that. It was very public when they did that documentary on it. But I can't help but think, well, Kristen's winning week in, week out, major week, month in, month out, and
selling a lot of discs at that.
That has to be in the poor thing.
Yeah.
It does. It's a lot of pressure.
For sure.
Game's hard enough as it is.
That's the level of play that you're looking at, though.
Yeah, it is. So contracts are coming up, and it's going to be interesting. And you look at 2023. Maybe we'll segue into a little bit more of the detail.
Yeah, because we got to get some players lined up, like who's coming off and who we could get some predictions out there too as to who's going where.
Yeah, but I know that there are a lot of contracts that are up this year.
Yeah.
And disc sales are flatter than what they were 2 years ago.
I think a lot of manufacturers were quoted as being down like 30%, which
That's
is
huge. That's huge. That's going to affect all of this.
That's true. Yeah. Are we going to see more $1 million contracts when discs aren't selling as good?
No. Gannon's out there, Cole's out there, but Cole's got another. I think he's got 20 through 2024. But
through DGA.
Klein might be coming up.
I can't imagine him moving off Discmania.
No.
Discmania is going to want to hold on to all the players they have and get more ultimately.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and Eagle, Eagle.
You can't get rid of Eagle. God, imagine he moves to Discraft.
I don't think that can happen. But
you never know. Discraft seems to have deep pockets, like they're edging to get more players. Man, they are on the hunt still.
It's going to be an interesting offseason in that respect.
Oh,
and maybe we'll loop around in episode 4 or 5.
5. We're on 4 now.
And we'll present the list of names and we'll kind of bring our 2 cents. But
we'll do our homework.
You can't. If sales are down 30%, it's going to be really. You'll get players re-signing, but will you get players re-signing at X amount of dollars more? I would say likely not.
The only manufacturer that I would think can afford it would be MVP.
What's interesting is that Innova's kind of held that consistency of you don't really know what their players are getting, but I would have to assume Calvin's 6 figures.
You would hope.
Oh, he has to be. And I'm sure there's bonus incentives and all of that with wins and so on and so forth because he doesn't have a social presence.
That's right. I don't think I follow him.
He's not. He pops into other people's stuff on the YouTube every now and then, but I
Yeah.
never see like his stuff. It doesn't seem like it's his sort of cup of tea, and that's fine. He speaks with his play.
Yep.
And but there seems to be some value attached to these contracts on their social platform presence, followers, because it equates to potential sales, right, of discs, and exposure of whatever,
Ultimately,
and then their play.
Yeah, you're putting it in people's faces. This is what I'm throwing. Here's what's working for me. Here's how it flies. That's worth a lot.
Yeah.
Having a big following like social media, and then showing it to all your followers, and yeah, it's like a commercial.
Yeah, it is. So how these contracts are compensated based on that. I'm sure it's all factored in. I don't think there's one standardized approach as to Calvin's contract is the same contract that goes down to the next 5 players under Calvin in terms of ranking. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Seems like Innova's done a nice job of holding some of the older players.
Oh yeah, they've had Coling and Sexton for how long?
6, 7 years, 8 years.
Very long time.
Yeah, a good amount of time, and they seem to be happy. And I think a lot of that has to do as much with the social platforming as it has to do. I mean, their names don't. You see them on there; they're still relevant.
Yeah,
first couple of rounds at least. These third day and the fourth day, man.
Stamina.
It seems to be a stamina thing now with the distance that these courses are being stretched to, especially on the Pro Tour.
Yeah, well,
like if those guys were still in the woods, they'd still be very probably relevant week in, week out, week in, week out.
I mean, Sexton only
Johansson probably would still be relevant week in, week out, week in, week out.
Love that guy.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I think it's going to be a tough year when it comes to contracts. I think some people aren't going to get signed that probably think they might be getting re-signed, or if they are, it might not be for the same amount of money.
Yeah.
If disc sales are down, it's hard to keep putting all that money out there. I was saying that before in other episodes. The sport needs to get dollars from outside the sport.
Yeah.
And that's going to help propel it further than ringing out the same.
All the manufacturers, that's right.
Because they're doing all the local events too, right?
Yep.
I mean, sponsored by MVP, sponsored by Innova, sponsored by DD. It's week in, week out on these local events, and I think all the way up the ladder. And this is just one state out of 50 states, out of how many countries, plus the tour. That's a lot of money that they're pushing their marketing out at.
Oh yeah.
And then paying players on top of that. I imagine that's a sharp pencil. It's going to have to be this year.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you see a lot of the memes last year were Prodigy and Innova lost the most players because everybody's looking to leave those companies when Discmania and Dynamic and who else are shelling out a ton of money for players. Why would you stay at a company that's not paying you when you're pushing their product? And if these companies are really going to be slender on their sponsorship costs, are people going to leave and then hung themselves out to dry?
Possibly. There's a real danger of that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a real risk in there.
Where you see your value and then you're not getting paid your value, you're not going to be happy.
Well, again, I think what the value of something when it's going through a big growth spurt can get skewed to the point where, when it comes back down to reality a few years later, which it seems now,
yeah,
things are going to correct themselves.
The ship will right itself.
It has to right itself because at the end of the day, the manufacturers know how many discs have sold through these contracts, through these individuals, or through their performances. They're looking at the data, and
data won't lie.
And it's just, it's hard. Now, again, that's where other factors come into play. If there's social presence and maybe they're a personality of some sort, or an up and comer, and there's a big high ceiling on terms of potential.
Mm-hmm.
this young lady that was at
Yeah, that 16-year-old girl.
the 16-year-old. Are you looking at someone on tour that's had 4 years to prove themselves and maybe hasn't met expectations? Are you thinking about maybe you've got a stable of 10 of those individuals?
Yeah.
And now you've got this 16-year-old that looks like the sky's the limit on what this person potentially could do. So do you erase those 10 and put it all into one?
Would you take the gamble?
That's the thing.
I think I would gamble, looking at what that 16-year-old was capable of.
That's the way I feel DD did it, and that's the way I feel Discraft did it. They put a lot of money in Ricky. They put a lot of money in Paul, and both of them still continue to win.
Yep.
Right?
Well, those guys have like true regiments about their game, and they go out and they perform, and they've got a really great track record, right? So they were worth the money, right, face value.
Right. Innova kept Calvin and then put an extension on his contract. So obviously,
great keep.
That formula worked. Great keep. You know, we can go on and on with examples, but let's get back to that one. I think that'd be a fun topic as we tiptoe out of the season.
Yeah, because
see what happens.
The season's ending very soon, so we're going to start seeing these shuffles very quickly.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be bigger shuffles than people realize.
Oh, I'm so excited
due to it. Yeah,
because a lot of players are still new to the game, so they haven't really seen what's happened in the previous off seasons and the big announcements and the drama in the off season.
Yeah,
it's all very exciting.
Well, we'll put a bow on it.
Put a bow on it. We'll do our homework and come back to it.
Do you do a giveaway?
No, we should give something away.
We did actually get a couple responses, so
finally, we got to ship some discs out here, man. Should we give away one of these 11 speeds?
Perfect.
We can't give away the DD. That's not mine to give away. Maybe we should give away the Grace.
Boom.
Who wants to win a Grace? Tag your friends. I think you should have to tag 2 people in the social media post, which we need to slender down our social media too. We've got 2 Instagrams right now.
Okay. Well, it's easier for them to find us then. Attention Deficit Disorder on Instagram.
Tag 2 friends.
Tag 2 friends. Tag 2 friends. And you're in the running. Good luck.
Nuts for the road.
Nuts.